Hold up, guys. My fault. I was having to go public on here. They finally want to learn how to win a ball game at home. It was not a pretty ball game. They really could have lost that game. That was first and goal at the one. At the 10. They had a very strong chance of losing that ball game just then. But shout out to Foye Luakon for the game winning interception. The Falcons are 7-8. Some way, somehow. They're 7-8. And they have an opportunity to. They still have an outside shot at the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be as strong as it was at one point because the Eagles are routing the Giants right now. So that playoff shot probably is over for the ones that still want to make the playoffs. But again, this was not the most impressive win. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I was very well preparing myself to come on here and talk about losing that game because, again, they did not play that impressive at all. Offensively, we kind of struggled the whole game. We settled for a ton of field goals in that game. The Lions actually ran for over 100 yards without DeAndre Swift on the field, which, I mean, if that's not a good look. That's not a good look at all. Toy, what's up, bro? Good game. He said the game is ready. Man, I don't know what that game was, to be honest with you. I don't know what that game was. I swear we go to the wire with you guys every single time. The last probably 4 Lions Falcons games have been down to the wire. And my boy said, GG, bro. The last 4 Falcon Lions games have went down to the wire just like that. We lost last year at the buzzer. Matt Stafford beat us on the game winner. We beat them at the 1-yard line in Detroit a couple years ago. So every Falcon Lion game just so happened to go down to the wire like that. And I don't know why, but it always happens that way. But again, the Lions probably going to be kicking themselves for losing that ball game because they did everything they could to win that ball game. And the Falcons did everything they could to lose that ball game. And also, Arthur Smith just got bailed out from me destroying him on this platform right here, right now, because another thing is Arthur Smith do not know how to manage a game at the end. Because at the same that game was looking like the conclusion to the Washington football game when we lost. Because the Falcons were just about to go ahead and do it just one more time. They were going to do it again. They were going to sit there and blow another lead that late in the game. And that time, Russell Gage fumbled after apparently getting a first down. And you cannot make those mistakes in a ball game like that. They're very fortunate to be walking out of there with a win today because that could have very well been a loss. And we could really be having a conversation about losing to Tim Boyle, who did not have a bad game, by the way, in the Detroit Lions. Jamal Williams had nearly 100 yards rushing. I think he had 70 last I checked. I'm not sure what he did the rest of the game. Emmanuel St. Brown did well for him today. So the Falcons, again, today showed me how we're not that much better than this Detroit Lions team that has 2 wins. And for me, I think what I saw today was this team needs a complete overhaul in this offseason. They need a complete overhaul this offseason. I will say this right here. Despite the fumble that Russell Gage had, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to the Falcons bringing him back. So, I mean, not as a start, like as a starter, I would have him as a complimentary piece as a receiver. So, Dylan said, "What's going on?" Dylan said, "In mine, Ross St. Brown." Yeah, him. I roll with that because I pronounced his full name, so that was that. But again, he had a pretty good day against us. And another thing is, this team is just so depleted of talent. Like, there's so many simple things that we fall for on defense in this game. And I'm going to get to the offense eventually, but I'm just talking about the defense. They held the several times they had an opportunity to. They were able to hold that Lions squad out the end zone after the first half, which is good. So, again, the defense did enough to win the ball game, but there are a lot of things that needs to improve on that side of the ball. Of course, AJ Terrell. To me, Aluakon is the best linebacker on the team at this point. I don't think I personally would be ready to move from Deion Jones because Deion Jones missed several tackles in this ball game that at one point in his career he was going to make those tackles with ease. So it sucks. Like I don't think he's the. It's crazy how much he's fallen off at this point in his career. I don't think Deion Jones is the guy that we once knew he was. Oh, Jay Lee, what's going on, bro? He said, "Let's go." Yeah, that was a big. Finally, we got a home win. We finally got a home win. I think Deion Jones he's not the same player anymore. He's not the same guy anymore. To me, he set. I like what he was when he first got here. He was all over the field. He was gonna get after you and everything. I don't see that in him anymore. I think the Falcons may have to look into potentially moving on from that contract in 2022, or maybe even put him away in 23 because again, the Falcons, he's going to be one of those guys who's going to have the highest paid contracts on the team next year. So I don't know. Dylan said Deion Jones is like he got comfortable. He has his spurts. He goes stretch. He goes through the stretches. Whereas this is his is his worst season as a Falcon because for a long period of time he was sustainable. I think recently was when he just started to begin to struggle. Jay also said Deion Jones got to go. He's too small and can't cover. I totally agree with that 100%. And you also said that he paid good to get that. Yes, he did. He played very well to get that contract. I was definitely a big Deion Jones fan. He deserved getting that contract. He's just not the same guy anymore. And that's okay at this point. To me, the Falcons I wouldn't be opposed to keeping if his contract wasn't what it was. But because he's getting paid the type of money he's getting paid, I don't think the Falcons need to stick with that contract much longer if it's going to hurt him long term. So if I'm the Falcons, he could be one of my guys I'm looking into possibly moving this offseason. And Aluakon, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. He is the best linebacker on the team this season. You have to re-sign him if you're Terry Fontenot in that front office. He has to be back on this team that season. He's a solid guy. He made the game-winning interception. He's been productive. I think he said he was the only player in the league with 5 tackles at least in the last 22 games, which is very, very solid. I'm not a big tackle person, but you know the difference when Aluakon's on the field and he's not on the field. Go to the comments. Dylan said draft O-line, defense, or receiver. Here is the sad and tricky part about that. They need all 3. So I don't want to say they would be wrong going this direction, wrong going that direction because they need all 3. They truly need all 3. And the fact that you need all 3 is a tough one. I kind of would rather see the offensive line get rebuilt in free agency. So I don't know if I'm not opposed to any of these guys going first. Tevin, what's going on, bro? He said all of Yes, sir. We need all of it. We really do. We need all of that because this team is in a tough spot to where you don't have a lot of talent to the point where you need some of everything. We don't get a lot of pressure at the quarterback. Tim Boyle actually stood in the pocket all game. I don't even think he got sacked, if I'm not mistaken. I had to check the stats in a moment. Let me pull matter of fact, we had that stat pulling up as I was talking to you guys. I don't think the Falcons got a sack in this game. Like they got a little pressure here and there, but it wasn't consistent. And you got to be able to get after the quarterback if you're going to win a ball game, because this is the thing. The Lions nearly won a ball game and didn't have Jared Goff at quarterback. That's very, very, very rough to look into. Dylan said, from an outside perspective, do you see any talent in the Lions? The Lions, I will say that the Lions I think the Lions have a really good offensive line. I can say that. The Falcons were not able to get after that quarterback at all. The Lions have been competitive. That's the tricky thing about the Lions is on the flip side, it's the Lions. But on one side, you look at it like they've been in ball games. They lost that nail biter to the Ravens. They gave Arizona fits last week. So the Lions aren't awful, but they're in a rebuild. They're competitive. I got to give that to Dan Campbell, that coaching staff. They got those boys competing because they very well gave their all to try to win this ball game today. And outside of that one bad throw, Boyle did not have a bad game. So that's one of the biggest things for me. Tevin said, but like you've been saying, yes, he does. Dion needs to go because the problem is he's just not that guy anymore. He's not what he used to be. And he missed several tackles. I know a lot of folks, when I was first screaming that Deion Jones needed to go midway through the season, I think it was the Dolphins game. I remember I was destroyed by some of the Falcon fans in that group. Shout out to the Atlanta Bird game. They were like, oh my God, Deion is still this, Deion is still that, but he's not. He's not the same guy anymore. I think you have to start looking into cutting bait with your contracts. And I'm going to touch on another person just after I read this comment from Jay. Jay said, hope Oluokun don't get punished for Jones because after seeing how Jones fell off after the contract, they might be hesitant. That's my concern too. I am scared that they're going to say, okay, he could be another Deion Jones and not keep him. To me, you got a steal out of a 6th round pick in Oluokun. If I'm not mistaken, he was a 6th round pick. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Oluokun has been outstanding at linebacker. And to me, the Falcons cannot move on without this guy right here. He has to be another one of those pieces that you keep it along with Richie Grant, that you keep it along with AJ Terrell. Another thing, stat line it's not going to show it today. I don't know if Buddy's watching. If you are, shout out to you. But it's Taquan Graham to get more snaps at DT because he got a couple of pressures after the quarterback today. They didn't get a chance to do a lot with him, which to me, that's one of your rookies. I've been seeing Jalen Mayfield on the opposite side on the offensive line getting carries. Getting snaps at left guard, which you guys know has been a disaster all season long. But to me, the Falcons really need to look into utilizing that youth down the stretch because at this point, I know we have a dark horse shot at the postseason, but at this point, I'm trying to look at the score real quick. These two guys got a mix pulled up. Like I said, the Giants are getting routed by the Eagles. The Eagles are right now at that 7th spot in the NFC, and the Vikings are trailing by a touchdown to the Rams, which could hurt them as far as that 7th seed as well. The Falcons are 7-8, which is a good thing. But the thing is, the Falcons got New Orleans the last week of the season, but you go to Buffalo next week, who is currently in the lead in New England. They're probably about to win this game. They're up by 5. Let me check so I can tell you guys. Yeah, it's a touchdown for the Bills going to win that game. So that's going to be a big win for them. They're the number 7 seed in the AFC. So they're going to come ready to play us next week. But the thing is, the Falcons have a lot of issues that needs to be fixed. That this team is very depleted of talent. And it shows, especially in a game like this. The first drive of this ball game, the Lions got back-to-back sacks on Matt Ryan. And also, I want to get onto that side of the ball. The Falcons truly need to retool the entire offensive line, not name Chris Lindstrom. That's the God honest truth. Let me go to the comments real quick. Dylan was perfect timing. Jalen Mayfield's from my city. The whole city has his back. Buddy looks underwhelmed as an athlete. No bustle tone, no burst, no aggression thoughts. He looks like he's not ready. I think it's a combination that he's not ready to the point of he's not ready. And then I don't think he fits this team. I don't know. It's his first year. Maybe he improves year 2, but he has by far been the worst offensive lineman on our team, hands down this season. And that's and I hate to sound like I'm belittling this guy because, hey, he's a rookie, but he has by far been the least productive offensive lineman on the team all season long. And it's not even so much that he's the whole issue on this team because we have bad center play with Matt Hennessy. We have a bad right tackle with Caleb McGarry. We also have Jake Matthews, who's our veteran, that's getting paid big money, who does absolutely nothing but look like he blends in to look average along with the rest of the guys on his team. So it's hard to look at this team and just throw the blame on him when 4 of your 5 offensive lineman positions are either average or worse. And I think that's the problem with the Falcons at this point. So I really think that the Falcons could consider moving him at some point. I truly believe that the Falcons have to rebuild that whole offensive line by 2023. You got to start rebuilding it, not just for Matt Ryan. And also another thing, it kind of hurts when you have a quarterback like Matt Ryan that's not athletic, that's not going to get out the pocket. You kind of got into a stage now where Matt Ryan is not awful. I know there's a lot of fans that look at him and say, oh, he's trash, he's this, he's absolutely lost a step. I would absolutely go on record and say that he's lost a step. But the biggest problem is you have a Matt Ryan in this new world NFL, because a lot of these DTs are able to get back there with the quickness. You got linebackers and DNs running 4.3s, 4.4s out here, and you got a pocket passer, Matt Ryan, who cannot extend the play after the first read or so with a bad offensive line. It's a bad combination all season long. Matt Ryan has still been the most hit quarterback in football, which that's not good look if you're the Falcons. And for a team that predicates themselves on their offense, you will never get in a rhythm that way. So the Falcons have their hands full in regards to what they're going to do to rebuild this team. Let's go back to the comments. Amy says, hey, sis, how you doing? Juju, what's up, bro? Oh, by the way, me and this guy got a show coming up this week. Be on the lookout for it. We're going to be talking about Georgia Bulldog football, so be on the lookout for it. I think Kyle Pitts could have had more production this year if Matt and Arthur remember he is on the roster. I agree with this, but I also think a lot of it plays the factor that we don't have anybody else really getting separation on that field. I think Kyle Pitts could, for him to get 1,000 yards, he's going to be approaching 1,000 yards. He'll probably get it within the next 2 weeks on a team that really has no threat at receiver. Is pretty remarkable for that rookie. I'm not going to say I would have loved to personally. I know Tevin's on here. Me and him wanted Micah Parsons. Kyle Pitts has not been a bad player. He's just on a team that needs so much. So, of course, it's going to go on we should have pat him over Kyle Pitts. You shouldn't take a tight end here. I respect that 100%, but I also won't bash Kyle Pitts because he's on a team kind of stuck in a team that's in the middle of rebuilding and everything. Juju said Deion Jones is bad. Yes, he is, bro. Yes, he is. Deion Jones has definitely lost a step big time. Amy says, of course, he's going to get knocked on his butt multiple times a game. We are lucky he hasn't gotten hurt. At this age of his career, we are very lucky that Matt Ryan has not gotten hurt. Really surprised he hasn't been hurt at any point. Dylan said, how did the Falcons start a rebuild if they continue to be on a fringe play? That's the tricky thing that you just made an outstanding point. You just made an outstanding point. The Falcons are 7-8, but if you look at this roster, they've won 6 one-score games. And I will say with the no, I ain't gonna tell that lie. There's not been a game this season that I can sit here and say that we won comfortably. Every game that we've won this season, from the Jaguar game got close. This game got close. The Panthers had a slight shot to win that ball game, well, the tie the ball game, but we knew they weren't going to tie it because Cam Newton was horrible that game. All the quarterbacks was bad that game. The Falcons haven't had really one game where you can, outside of maybe the New Orleans game, and even in that game they blew an 18-point lead, where you can just say, oh, the Falcons just dominated from start to finish. I can't say any game this season. So the Falcons are a tricky, bad football team. They're 7-8 on one end, but then on the flip side, you see the lack of talent on the roster. You see the lack of talent when they step onto the field, but then they're still finding ways to win despite it. They're still finding ways to pull out. And people can say, oh, the Falcons played a lot of bad teams on the schedule, but you can't help what your schedule is. It is also the Falcons are a average team themselves. So again, to have 7 wins is a plus for the organization, although we all as fans see that this team should clearly be rebuilding, but it's hard to find yourself in the rebuilding position because you just won a 7th game, and I'm not sure what it's going to do as far as our draft stock, because coming into today, we were the 9th overall pick, and I'm sure we're going to drop into the mid-teens at this point. So it's tricky. That's a good question, though, Dylan. Also, he said, I think they need to use Kyle Pitts in multiple positions, move him around the field. I agree with that 100% too. I also think that Arthur Smith kind of don't know what he's doing with that. I think he's still kind of fresh with this because he's so used to having a Derrick Henry in his backfield. You have a tight end that can line up at receiver that can go out and make plays as another receiver. But sometimes I don't think they know what to do with him. And despite that, for him to be even having nearly 1,000 yards and be in a Pro Bowl is remarkable for the guy. And I also want to clear this out here. I know I had a couple of comments come at me on Friday when I was like, I felt like Cordero Patterson should have made the Pro Bowl over Kyle Pitts. I am not by any means knocking that rookie because you deserve to be in the Pro Bowl. What I did think is Cordero Patterson is by far the MVP of this team, who also had a touchdown in this game as well today as well. So you got to give your guys like a Cordero Patterson chances to get onto the field, chances to get a chance to do a little bit more. So it's definitely one of those things. Amy said with zero guidance, I agree. I think Kyle Pitts is going to be a really productive player on this roster once we add another productive piece. And to add to what you just said, Juju just said, I also believe having Calvin Ridley would have won us 2 or 3. Yes, I agree with that too. To me, he don't get a chance to get a lot of looks, get a lot of reps. He don't get a chance to me shine. I haven't seen – he's had 100 yards today, which is very remarkable, but it's a shame because Kyle Pitts has been a mismatch all season long, but because either A, the drives are stalling out, B, there's nothing getting productive in the offense, you don't see a lot of him. So to me, today was a sign of what Kyle Pitts can be. But you got to get somebody back, whether it's bringing Calvin Ridley back for 2022 who's under contract because he got the 5th-year option, whether it's getting another piece in the draft or even free agency, you got to have some weapons around this guy for Kyle Pitts to even flourish even more. You got to start building your weapons around your team for the post-Matt Ryan era. You got to be looking into it that way because at the end of the day, you're 7-8, but you're also in a position where you need to move on from your quarterback. You need to get other pieces in here. So it's a rebuild, but it's a weird rebuild because they don't won 7 games, if that makes sense. Amy said this CP is our freaking hero. Yes, he is. He's by far the best player on the team this year. Gipsy said, did anyone see number 58 out there blocking for the Lions? Yeah, I know, right? I think, is that Swell? If that is he is a monster out there. And the Lions have actually done a pretty good job revamping their offensive line. And I think they're going to add more pieces on that group as the season comes on. So, we definitely see it's a lot different. And Amy just made an outstanding point. We had a Tony Gonzalez, Julio had and also had Roddy. Ridley had Julio. That is a great, great point. Because when Julio, and I think in that, I love what you just said. I got to pin that one, by the way. Let me pin that up here. I want to go ahead and pin that right there. But the problem, like we're talking about with the situation with Kyle Pitts is coming into a team where Calvin Ridley's on a mental health break. Cordero Patterson is your do-it-all guy. Outside of those guys, Russell Gage, he does stuff here and there. Russell Gage is not your number one. Zacchaeus is not your number one. Tajay Sharp is not your number one. I can go down a list at how lackluster this receiving core is on this team at this point. But as Amy just made a great point and said, Julio, as great as Julio was, we had Roddy, Tony, Gonzo, we had Roddy, Tony, and Michael Turner on this team when Julio was a rookie. Pitts didn't come into that situation where you can just flourish and you fit in. Because a lot of people forget this, that Julio Jones was not our number one option until 2013. And I don't think anyone on here is going to dispute that. Julio was our number one option. He became our number one option in 13 because Julio he had his numbers, he had his plays, but Julio was not the go-to guy until 13. And then it's when he took off and went on to that run that he did. But also, like Amy said, Ridley came in with us still in his prime, Julio Jones, and those things as well. Dylan said he's out great show. Yes, I appreciate you stopping in, bro. Definitely appreciate you stopping in. But yeah, the Falcons got to get more pieces around for this thing to work out. Gibson said that was him, and that should have been our pick. I would have been against it because Sewell is actually a really good tackle, but I do think that I want to see what they're going to do with this guy right here. I definitely want to see what they're going to do with this guy right here. But I do want to go to something. We're getting close to mock draft time. This number is going to change, but I do want to go ahead and show you guys who they were projecting. This is the first time I'm mentioning it this season since we were 2 games left in the regular season. And as I mentioned, I kind of don't think the Falcons are going to make the playoffs at this point. But just to kind of show you guys a mock draft, let me go to the screen. Hold on 1 second, guys. Let's go down to this screen. I want to show you who they're projecting. So SI Nation has the Falcons. So I think they actually might have revamped this in the last couple of minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say this is a different one. Hold on. I'm gonna come out of this one because I don't think this is the one that I pulled up earlier. Give me a second. Let me go to this one that I actually reviewed earlier. Okay, let me pull this one up because I didn't like that one that I just put up because I actually had 3 of them up a moment ago. So give me a second. Let me pull this other one up just to show you guys what they're projecting the Falcons to do at this point. All right, we're going to go to Walter Football. Walter Football has the Falcons taking Malik Willis out of Liberty. So, of course, they're talking about the fact that we passed up on Trey Lance and Justin Fields and those guys. So they are already saying that they're looking at the Falcons potentially addressing the need at quarterback at number 9. It would have been at number 9. We'll know at the end of the day what's the new projection is going to be. So we'll find out about that. So that's the pick that they have us taking at number 9 for the Atlanta Falcons out of Walter Football. Shout out to them. I always read what they're talking about on a regular basis. Let me go to the next one, which is going to be CBS Sports. If you watched my draft show earlier in the spring, you know I did a lot of coverage talking about what they were talking about as well. Let's go to this. Okay, to the 22. Okay, so again, from earlier, they have us, 2 of the 3 have us taking the quarterback. They got us taking Matt Corral out of Ole Miss, which I'm not really a fan of. I'm not going to be really a big fan of that. They also have us taking the offensive tackle out of NC State, which is understandable. I think they're looking at the fact that the Falcons struggle in that spot. And then they also have us taking Kenny Pickett. He's a quarterback out of Pitt. I'm not a big fan of him, just on record. But as you see, these mocks are kind of leaning to the Falcons taking a quarterback at some point in this draft, maybe even first round. I don't think we're going to do that, but that's just showing you where everyone is kind of leaning to as far as the future of the Falcons. So the Falcons are kind of in that spot where you got to start looking into your future right now, even though it's a weird thing that you're kind of 7 to 8 right now. So to most, it wouldn't be considered as a rebuild, but us as fans, we know it's a rebuild. Amy said, "Love you, little bro. Love you too. Happy New Year. Not this draft." No, I agree. I don't want a quarterback in this draft. This is not the one. I'm looking at 23. I'm looking at CJ Stroud. I'm looking at Bryce Young out of Alabama. I'm not looking at a quarterback for this one. I would I would be against maybe trying to project quarterback out into like a Desmond Ridder if he's not a first rounder, maybe later in the draft, but first round, absolutely not. I'm not on board for that. So I'll be highly upset. I'm not even gonna lie. I would be highly upset if we take a if we take a quarterback in that kind of position. But let me go to the comments let me go to the box score real quick just to give you guys a recap of this. Let me go to this box score because I always do this by the end of the show, every show. So let's go to the Lions Falcons box score. Okay, as you saw, the Falcons won 20-16 at home. Matt Ryan had 18 of 24, 215. As I mentioned again, Tim Boyle did not have a bad day at the office. He had 24 for 34, 187, a touchdown in that pick at the end of the game. Jamal Williams ran for 77 yards against this team. They had ran for 130 combined as a squad, which they, like I said, they did everything they could to win that ball game. They just didn't do it. Mike Davis led us in rushing with 28. Cordero Patterson, he had a touchdown. Amon St. Brown, he definitely had a good day. 9 catches for 91 and a touchdown. Kyle Pitts had 6 for $102 and no touchdown. Hayden Hurst caught the touchdown on one of the good throws of the day by Matt Ryan. Of course, Russell Gage lost that fumble in the late portion of the game. Alua Khan had 14 tackles, 8 solo, and a tackle for a loss, including the interception in the game. As I mentioned again, Alua Khan, to me, is the best linebacker on the team at this point. Deion Jones had 10 tackles and 8 solo. He missed several tackles, by the way, just to even reference that. But like I said, I don't look at tackles when it comes to him and say, okay, well, he's just been making the tackles and anything like that. So I definitely am looking to maybe what the Falcons are going to do post this season. And that's one of the things I'm really looking into if you're the Falcons going forward. But again, I definitely good win for the Falcons. They got Buffalo this upcoming week, and the Falcons are 7-8. They still got an outside shot at the postseason, and we'll see what happens with these guys. Like I said earlier, if you saw what I said earlier, I will be on here sometime this week to talk about Georgia and Michigan. Me and my boy Julian, I don't know if he's still on the stream right now. We're going to be on here talking about it at some point. But until then, good game for the Falcons. They won. They finally won a home game. It only took them all season long. So congratulations, Falcons, your first home win of the season. Until next week, I will be back. We won't be on here talking Falcons until 2022. So if you don't tune in for Georgia, Happy New Year, and I will see you next Sunday right here, right now, same time. Y'all have a good afternoon. Let's get back and watch some more football.